Hello, everyone. I'm going to put this at the beginning of this video. Trigger warning. We are going to be talking about some very sensitive topics, such as, abuse. We're going to be talking about boundary crossings, unhealthy communication styles. We're going to be talking a lot about instances that people might find triggering if you've gone through them in any form of relationship, whether romantic relationship or through friends. And we're using this as a video to psychologically explore, number one, and analyze the situation that happened. My heart goes out to Emiru, and it's absolutely horrible what happened, and you guys will see in the video to come. Thank you for watching, and of course, let me know your thoughts. I want to start off by talking a little bit about something that has I got a lot of emails for. I got a lot of things since last night for, and that they wanted me to go ahead and just quickly cover and quickly have a conversation on. What is healthy relationships boundaries inside of a relationship, and establishing safe and secure communication aspects with your partner? Apparently on Twitch there is a massive thing happening between some creators where there's been a lot of stalking, a lot of stalking, boundary violations. Apparently a couple big content creators that were getting have gone through SA from their partners and stuff like that, have legitimate, and you guys probably know who I'm talking about, is recently Emiru, a content creator, came out and shared their story and shared about one of their other big content creators, friends that used to be their partner, and sort of what happened inside of that relationship. Number one, I can't even imagine what she must be going through, and coming out with a story like that, it's her story, and it must be extremely, it puts you in an extremely vulnerable position to share your story, especially whenever you've gone through an instance of SA, domestic violence, anything like that, right? And when power dynamics are at play, it becomes extremely taxing on the mind. It becomes extremely anxiety ridden. You feel like there's not really an out. So something I'm gonna go ahead and highlight with this is, ultimately, of course, you're not ever gonna know what happens in a content creator's relationships, first and foremost, right? But I do want to talk about healthy boundaries and healthy relationships. In a relationship, you should love in a way that is open and free, right? And take this in and ingrain it, right? Any good relationship should be loved in a way that is open and free. Open in the capacity that you're able to go ahead and be yourself, and then share, what is bothering you. Share the good moments and share the bad moments without fear of repercussion, or fear of like, oh, well, they're in a bad mood, I don't want to go ahead and say anything to my partner because my partner might go ahead and erupt on me, or anything like that. That is not okay in a relationship. I hope you guys know that. Will we have bad days? Absolutely, right? That happens, right? But if it starts turning into a consistency where you're afraid of communicating, and this goes for any relationship, right? Of communicating to your partner or to your friend or whatever that relationship may be, is that a healthy relationship? And that is something that you have to go ahead and consider inside of that, right? The reason why I'm sharing this is, for these content creators, especially content houses, unfortunately, oftentimes what happens is there is an ingrained level of a parataxic distortion. A parataxic distortion is, unfortunately, when even unconsciously we put someone on a pedestal, right? And our distorted view goes out there because we're thinking that there's a power dynamical issue there, right? So for example, let's say that I got invited into one of these content houses by someone. I might say, oh yeah, we're all good, whatnot. But the person that probably brought me in, guess what? I'm probably going to be really thankful for them. And unconsciously, I might be putting them at a higher level, a position higher than me, for helping me out into this, right? So there is a power dynamic present there. Even if things might go ahead and equal out, that's another thing that, we can talk about, where it's like, okay, I've been there for a while, we can start working on boundaries and establishing certain things. That is A-okay. And that's sort of what should have happened. But if I were to get in a relationship with someone like that, does that go away? Or, question for you all, do you think it would get worse? That is something worth considering. And of course, there are healthy relationships out there where communication can be established and boundaries can definitely be established that makes things in a healthier manner, right? But it needs to go ahead and be clear and distinct where those boundaries are. Number two, if someone tells you to stop, you stop. I don't care what it is. If it's not enthusiastic consent, you stop. This goes for anything. I can't tell you all enough as a psychologist, and especially before I became a psychologist, I was a therapist and I was doing it countlessly for a lot of individuals. There are too many individuals that try and make up, and this goes for everyone, ladies, gentlemen, all non-binary individuals as well, that unfortunately do not take this fully into consideration, that enthusiastic consent is the only way to go ahead and get consent. Consent is sexy. I hate to put it out there, right? And unfortunately, right, if you're not in the right state of mind, you cannot give consent. Like it and or hate it. If you are not in the right state of mind, if you've been intoxicated, if you're going through whatever, you cannot give consent, right? Because your brain is not at a baseline level to go ahead and be able to go ahead and rationalize exactly everything that has happened. So, exactly. If consent is not enthusiastic, informed, and willing, it is not consent. So whenever someone says, even if you're getting into the heat of the moment, right? If someone says, hey, stop, you stop, right? And however, there's a way to be appropriate about it. If you're getting hot and heavy, and I hate to bring this up, but it's important to talk about, right? Because a lot of people don't understand. Like, there are ways to handle this, right? Like, oh, okay, I'm in a relationship with someone. We're, getting hot and heavy, and they tell me stop. It's like, okay, mi amor, hey, don't worry about it. Maybe we'll pick it up next time. Like, do you want something else? What if you want to watch a movie? Like, what do you want to go ahead and do? If you think about it this way, if it's it's one of those things where you're respecting their boundaries, you're saying, hey, okay, that's awesome, don't worry about it, right? Let's go ahead and switch over to something else. What do you want to go ahead and do, right? It's being there and having that open conversation. But imagine this, right? This is your ex, this is a previous partner. You go through, you're getting hot and heavy for whatever reason, right? You might be kissing them, you decide to go and take things to another level, and you stop, and you're like, well, bye. What does that say? What does that say about an individual, an adult individual particularly, that unfortunately, and I get it. Sometimes no's can be hard, and sometimes no's when people start saying no, it can be a shock to your own ego, if that matter, if you personalize it. But for the most part, you have to respect your partner, and you have to respect the individuals that are there. And scared of getting in trouble. It could be, absolutely. Brands becoming friends on TikTok and shit. Yeah, it's less about needing, although it's important as a harm reduction. It's partly due to the horrible societal. So with that though, and it's unfortunate because a lot of individuals haven't fully conceptualized this, and a lot of young adults are still struggling with where a boundary line lies, right, and how to ask for consent. You can legitimately say, hey, are you okay with going further? Are you okay with this? However, I will say this. If someone's crying, I'm going to say that, fuck it, this might get me in hot water and I don't give a shit. And I've always said this, I'm a psychologist, but I'm not your psychologist. If someone's grieving, if someone's crying, if someone's going through something and your first thought is, okay, let me try and get laid. What is going on through your head? You're not prioritizing their feelings, their emotions, what they might be going through, so on and so forth. It's just something to conceptualize and break down and think about it. If I saw that my partner was crying, the first thing I'm doing is like, hey, what's going on, right? Even if it's a friend that I don't even talk to, it's like, tell me about it, right? Like, I'm not going to proceed anywhere further because ultimately grief is grief. Right? Even if it's closure in a relationship, because I keep hearing this thrown out there, it might be closure. You don't need sex for closure. If someone's grieving the end of a relationship, let the relationship end with grieving. That's first and foremost. As to the differences into, well, what are appropriate boundaries? Yeah. Dang. Yeah. Yeah, so be there for your friends, be there for others, have empathy, being able to go ahead and have that communication with your friends and be empathetic in that element. A form of desperation, not thinking too much about their own feelings and prioritizing themselves, making themselves centered inside of that. Number 2, your partner, and I hate to put it this way, if you're a content creator and your partner's a content creator, your partner should never start affecting the way that you do your content. In fact, your partner should be your greatest cheerleader. Your partner should be like, you're doing better than me? Let's go. That's amazing. Congratulations. Or can there be moments of jealousy, envy, whatnot? Sure, everyone's human. There is nothing wrong with that, right? But your partner should be one of your greatest cheerleaders for you doing well, right? Inside of that, if that partner starts deviating and starts going into an aspect where all of a sudden it's like, hey, for example, if I were to get something that's like, hey, Ed, we need to talk. How can you go ahead and do this to me? I'm going to go kill myself. I need to go ahead and do this, and that. Guess what? That, and I'm going to bring it up here, and I don't care. We're going to talk about it. You know what? I hope you guys are okay with this, with me starting off with this, because I really do think it's an important topic. And it's something that needs to be talked about, and I want you guys to go ahead and see and understand where I'm coming from in this.
On October 25th, Emiru used a live stream to publicly accuse Mizkif of a series of serious actions including SA, domestic and physical abuse, stalking, harassment, and threats of blackmail in the following clip.
Today, I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Mizkif has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing. For the entirety of this year, I have attempted to separate myself from him and not talk about him at all, and not talk about this issue, and just not make it a public thing.
Emiru then goes on to talk about how Mizkif essayed her after they broke up in the following clip.
I'm usually very uncomfortable with being touched a lot by people that I'm not in a relationship with. I let him hold me while I was crying, and he started kissing me in my face, and I let him do it. I was still sobbing a lot. And then suddenly he tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hand down my pants. And I screamed. And when I screamed, he jumped off me like a cat. Like, instead of apologizing or checking if I was okay, he said, I feel weird now. I feel like I did something wrong. I have to go. And he immediately...
So if someone says that, I feel weird, I feel like I've done something wrong, you acknowledge it then. You acknowledge the fact that something wrong happened, right? I.e., there was no enthusiastic consent. There was nothing. I know you think. Here's the thing is, we're all hardwired to know when like, you know, something's going awry. But them actually stating that out loud, I feel like I've done something wrong, right? Yeah, who could have guessed? Who could have guessed? But aside from that, I feel like I gotta go after that. So then, again, they were grieving. Yes, they yelled because, again, there was no consent to go forward, right? There was no enthusiastic consent to go forward. And so you made me feel guilty for, yeah. And it's like, wait, what the fuck? What the fuck? Yeah, like making your partner feel bad for the boundaries. You don't understand. It just feels wrong. Here's a difference. What the actual fuck is wrong? But like, well, that's the main regard, right? Here's the thing. If you boundary cross, right, and they're like, hey, you know what? Like, I don't want to go there. Cool. You know, reset. Have a conversation again. What was actually happening? There was grieving happening. If you were there for the person, you would be considerate enough to have that conversation with them. Be like, hey, sorry about that. Blah, 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 blah. You have that conversation there, but immediately be like, oh, I feel like I've done something wrong. What?
Me like a cat, like, instead of apologizing or checking if I was okay,
yeah,
he said,
like, are you okay? Hey, I'm sorry. You know what? I thought we were going to proceed further. Like, boundary violation. I'm sorry. Blah, 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 blah. Have that communication.
I feel weird now. I feel like I did something wrong. I have to go.
It's her fault that he feels guilty.
And he immediately left my house while I was still crying without checking if I was okay or anything.
So let me get this straight. They hugged.
And immediately, I don't see how. This is Reddit. This is Reddit in a fucking nutshell. Just because you hug and kiss does not mean that there's consent to keep going forward. Just because there's consent to hug and consent to kiss does not mean that there's consent to keep proceeding. What? I don't see how this is SA. Okay, wow. Consent is revocable at any point in time. Exactly. Consent is revocable at any time in time. I see it as women thinking that consent is less of a dynamical negotiation between two adults and more of a rug they can just whip out from underneath someone at a moment's notice. Consent can be taken out at any moment. Guess what? I've revoked consent when, like, you know, plenty of times where I'm like, you know, I'm in the mood at first and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm good. Thank you so much. But, like, you know what? Let's do something else. You know, what is wrong with people? Consent is not just a one-time free pass to do anything and everything. No, consent is always revocable.
Kiss, both of which she was okay with, or at least didn't say no to. Then when he made a more SU move, she screamed, and he immediately stopped and got off her. I don't see how this is SA. I see it as women thinking that consent is less of a thing that is dynamically negotiated between two adults and more of a rug they can just whip out from underneath someone at a moment's notice. To be fair, he acted...
Did he ask for consent to shove his hand into her private areas? From my understanding, from the way that she's sharing her story, he did it. We can back it up here.
Suddenly, he tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hand down my pants.
Let's hear that one more time.
And I let him do it. I was still sobbing a lot. And then, I let him hold me while I was crying. And he started...
Here's a big one. If you are in an emotionally volatile state, can you give consent? Appropriate consent. If you are in an emotional volatile state, can you give emotional consent? Or like full consent? No. Because your brain is not at baseline, my friends. Because your brain is not at a baseline level to be able to go ahead and give consent, right? If I'm angry, right? If I'm pissed the fuck off and someone comes in and they're like, hey, can you figure out what's the best decision for me to do? Am I going to give the best answer? Probably not. Probably not, right? Because my brain is not at that level to go ahead and think clearly. If I'm crying and I'm going through something very severe, am I at the level to go ahead and think rationally or even like process it? So once again, I bring this up because people keep saying, oh, well, there was consent. And it's like, okay, you're grieving, might be grieving the end of a relationship, but that doesn't fully mean that like mentally, emotionally, everyone's at a baseline to give appropriate consent all around. Lucidity, capacity for action, freedom of choice. Yep, well, and the possibility of stopping at any time. Exactly, little Cinder. Oh, man, here we go.
Started kissing me in my face, and I let him do it. I was still sobbing a lot. And then
notice the word choice.
I'm not in a relationship with. I let him hold me while I was crying, and he started kissing me in my face, and I let him do it.
Notice the word choice in this. The word choice is, I let him do it. The word choice, yeah, let him. Here's the thing. There's a reason why there's always you know what, when it comes to reminded my time my brother. Ooh, no, that's not okay, Mason Gator. I'm sorry. Your bad behavior called out feels like an attack. Yet you need to retreat from sort of grappling. If there's any way that you can make it right, an awful thing, get called out, retreat before the make it thinking about the other person. Well, having your old bad behavior being called out, yeah, it absolutely can feel like an attack, right? However, if you're in there and the other person's grieving, they're going through a bit, and if your priority is the other person, you would check in with them. If your priority is yourself, then you're gonna do whatever you need to do to protect yourself. Again, fight or flight, right? And in some situations, if I'm like, for example, if I'm honestly there for my partner, I'm going to be there for my partner. But if I'm only there for my own intentions and you saying no, hurt me, guess what? Fight or flight activates for me. fight or flight, freeze, fawn, flop, you know, all the F's start activating, and all of a sudden it's like, well, what do? I've been hurt. I gotta flee. Oh no, you made things weird. You know, all of this stuff starts happening in that. So it's just something to be aware of, right? It's like she's internalized that it's her fault, even though she's a victim. I can't even imagine what she's going through. My heart literally goes out to Emiru. My heart goes out to Emiru because when you've gone through SA and when you've encountered and encountered a lot of individuals that have gone through SA, and you've done therapy and you know, mental health help for a majority of people that have gone through something like this, you start noticing that, like, you make a lot of excuses for other people's actions, right? Because we don't necessarily want to deal with the guilt and the amount of stuff that's happening. And a lot of individuals, even myself at some point in time, we've been afraid of speaking out, right? Against stuff that's happened, because we're afraid of retaliation. We're afraid of making things bigger, of losing friends, of 1,001 things in that regard.
I was still sobbing a lot. And then suddenly he tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hand down my pants, and I screamed. And when I screamed, he jumped off me like a cat. Like, instead of apologizing or checking if I was okay, he said, "I feel weird now. I feel like I did something wrong. I have to go." And he immediately left my house.
By the way, yeah, if you're feeling triggered by this, no worries. Feel free to hang out in the Discord for a bit. We'll ping you guys as soon as we're done with this. I just really think that this is important to have a conversation about, and actually bring up the charts and chat about this, because in a big way, there are a lot of content creators out there, and it breaks my heart, and I'm going to say this. If you're a content creator and you've gone through something, you haven't had the ability to go to decompress and talk about it. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not your psychologist, but I can definitely point you in the right way to find some help. Or if you need someone to vent to, I'm there for you. There's a lot of content creators, unfortunately, that have gone through stuff like this and might be afraid of speaking out to partner creators or bigger creators because, again, the fear and repercussions that might come through from speaking about stuff, you know? So...
I was still crying without checking if I was okay or anything.
So let me get this straight. They hugged, kissed, both of which she was okay with, or at least didn't say no to. Then when he made a more SU move, she screamed, and he immediately stopped and got off her. I don't see how this is SA. I see it as women thinking that consent is less of a thing that is dynamically negotiated between...
This is what I find weird. I see it as women thinking that consent is less of a thing that is dynamically negotiated between two adults and more of a rug. Instead of, you know what, I see it as individuals thinking that consent is, it's immediately shot over to women. Interesting.
Two adults, and more of a rug they can just whip out from underneath someone at a moment's notice. To be fair, he acted completely normal. He proceeded when she let...
She was crying. He acted normal by hugging. I would be like, okay, if she gave consent to that. Kissing, okay, she gave consent to that. Sticking your hands down her pants and you know, being like, this things got awkward. He acted normal. He proceeded when she let him and stepped back immediately. First thing when she expressed any sort of unwillingness to proceed.
At him and stepped back immediately, fifth thing, when she expressed any sort of unwillingness to proceed. I don't know. I don't see any SA here. As much as I want to hate Miz and his scummy behavior, I would be doing a disservice by not...
Did you not hear the way that this is framed?
Defending this specific instance. Yes, it was a sensitive situation, and he should have dealt with it in a much different way.
Agreed.
But if you retreat as soon as you get negative feedback, it's not great grounds for SA. Between two recent partners, if you're feeling out the situation and don't push further, then that's as human as you can get.
Did he sit there and talk with her, or did he say, this got awkward. I feel like I did something wrong. Bye. Or did he sit there and be like, hey, I'm sorry about that. You know what? I apologize. You know, whatever. No. Yeah. While they're grieving normal, in what world is someone sticking their hands, even if it's just grieving the relationship? Exactly. The fuck is this reasoning, bro? What is this reasoning?
Between two recent partners, if you're feeling out the situation...
If you're feeling between two recent partners, oh God.
And don't push further, then that's as human as you can get. If you imagine how insane this is, actually. So Ludwig apologizes a couple of days ago about his coverage of another Miz drama, and now this
Someone
happens.
trying to bring in
How
another
bad is
streamer.
this timing for him? Crazy stuff. Emiru is on the process of filing a restraining order on Mizkif.
You know, I am already in the process of filing a restraining order on him in both Texas and California. And I also wanted to say that I would not be surprised if he tries to sue me for the stream that I did today and for coming out about him. Not because he thinks that he would win, but for PR reasons, like a slap lawsuit. It'd be interesting if that happened, and I wouldn't be opposed to people finding out more of the truth and things that I didn't even talk about today and what else he's been lying about.
I can't even imagine. So in the full video, and please go check it out. It's on Emiru's channel. The full video, it's an hour 30, and she kind of goes into the Twitch situation that happened where the fan tried to kiss her at the meet and greet, another form, again, of SA, right? And then there goes further, and I'm just going to paraphrase here, where the relationship was pretty much kept a secret for a long time because, again, he was in another relationship previous to getting with her, right? The relationship was trying to be kept a secret for a long time. Things got controlling really quickly. She's a really good cosplayer. He tried to control the amount of cosplays that she did, or the types of cosplays that she did. It started growing into him throwing his phone or throwing stuff at her till she got a black eye. She was saying no to doing all of that, and yet kept progressing. Again, he brought her to live with him, to be a part of their organization. So there's already a power dynamic in there, imbalance. What else happened? Like, the video goes long. It's an hour and 30 minutes, but I'd suggest you all taking a look at it, fully conceptualizing it. In that regard, because you really do get a little bit further into sort of what they're going through. And you can tell that for them, they've been holding on to this story for a long time. They've probably been running through their head, trying to go ahead and be like, you know, and there were even like, there were moments where you can just tell how raw this is still for them to have this conversation, you know. She has been through it. Exactly. And aside from that, like, he wouldn't let her stream at the same time as him because she would have more viewers, or they would split their view base. If she had more viewers than him, he would get angry and walk around angrily in the background, you know, the glass, whatever, in order to make a noise. He would slam doors, punch walls, like all of the basic styles of what would be considered. How strong. I know. I'm so amazed at how strong and brave she is for speaking about this. And honestly, it's like, if she ever needs to speak or, you know, vent or anything like that, I'm there for anyone, including her and everyone else out there, any content creator. Just reach out to me if you guys really want a safe space to go ahead and vent and talk about certain things. But let's talk about this, because people like to go ahead and defend one side or the other. But yeah, he got mad at her for playing WoW, the same WoW class as him. Yeah, exactly. And even past that, it was getting towards a point where it was like text messages that would come through, like, I'm going to go kill myself, sorry. I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that. And it was threatening messages. Once they broke up, there was like stalking involved, and the situation keeps exploding. Please go check out her video. Go see what actually happened if you want the full contextualization. But this is the power and control wheel. And we use this specifically for individuals that might be going through to understand if there is a domestic violence situation. Yeah, and still acting like she's in the wrong. How much do we see of this immediately from what we're seeing? I'm gonna be honest with you. Sending unwanted text messages, which you'll see in her video, right? One of the big ones in there where it starts becoming almost threatening, using technology, using social standing, using a higher position, right? Try making the decisions in, like, not just in a work environment, but also inside of the relationship, making the decision for someone, right? Don't cosplay this. Don't wear too risky outfits. Don't do these things. Using harmful language. If you hear the whole video, you'll hear the harmful language. Playing mind games, humiliating someone, making someone feel insecure, making someone feel guilty, telling lies or private information about others. Using physical violence. Guess what? Throwing stuff at someone can count as physical violence, especially if they get bruised. Oh, exclusion, controlling what someone does, including stream times, when they stream or when they don't stream, deciding what someone talks or what she or he wears, limiting outside involvement. Don't tell others. Let's keep it a secret. No. You know, That's another one that they use, right? Exclusion. Oh, look at this one. Sexual coercion and harassment or assault. Manipulating or any form of manipulation to try to get sex or other sexual activities. Getting someone drunk, destroying or refusing birth control, making comments and inappropriate jokes, grabbing, rubbing, pinching someone without consent. Ha! And I know it's an uncomfortable topic for some people, but it's something that needs to be talked about in a psychological lens for people to have the capacity to go out and understand that any one of these happening to you is not okay. This is what we as psychologists use to go ahead and identify whenever you might be in a situation that is a domestic violence situation and the power is imbalance inside of this relationship. Your stream was good. It was a charity fundraiser. Yo, let's go. Very important. So glad we came here. Thank you, Saidere. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, welcome on through. As always, I love you and I appreciate you. So sexual coercion, right? Harassment, assault, all of that, right? Okay, using threats, making threats to use physical or sexual violence, threatening to leave, commit, self-harm, reporting someone to the police, making someone do illegal things, minimizing, denying, blaming, minimizing the impact of the abuse, not taking their concerns, saying that the abuse didn't happen, or another one that's not in here, deflecting. Oh yeah, no, the abuse didn't happen. Oh, don't you know? No, I'm sorry. Like later on, I'm sorry. But don't you know that Edgar sometimes pulls a little too hard on the leash on Loki when he goes out on a walk? Don't you know that sometimes Loki can't handle his food well and Edgar has to come in and clean up after him? Oh yeah, Edgar doesn't take good care of Loki. Guess what? Now you're deflecting and now you're minimizing, denying, and redirecting or blaming the situation. It falls right back into that. Also, using intimidation, making someone afraid by using looks, actions, gestures, abusing pets or loved ones, displaying weapons, smashing, destroying, or stealing property. I'm sorry. But if any of this rings true to the situation relationship, out of your opinion, that this is a relationship that would be considered as a domestic violence situation. Thank you so much for the follow, Psyched for Games. I appreciate it. Also, Goro and Engi, I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you on the follows. But yes, if it only takes one for us to start looking at things and wondering if a relationship is healthy. Now, a majority of this kind of being highlighted, or all of this being highlighted, this is a domestic violence relationship. And I'm really glad that she's in a healthier space now. And I'm sure that because a lot of these domestic violence situations, unfortunately, at the very beginning can start off very wonderful, can be very passionate, right? A lot of times it can start off as, oh, I will never, I don't think they would ever do anything, right? And then the behavior starts coming out after a period of time, No worries, Mother of Souls. I appreciate it. Luckily, I believe that she's... Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can scoot on back. Because I'm trying to go ahead and see. Oh, okay. I think it just continues from there. So, again, that's the power and wheel of control there. Power and control wheel. And as we're going through,
ending it all is a need.
Yeah, this is something I want to talk about right now because unfortunately, it's not just Emiru. It's a lot of other content creators, and it's a lot of people out there that need to know and hear about this and hear what is a healthy relationship versus what is not a healthy relationship.
DSMF talks poorly about others. I hope Emmy gets a restraining order from her crazy ex without him suing. But I feel like people are enjoying this nuke because it reinforces the perspectives people already have of him. It doesn't really have any new damning info that would end his career.
It's crazy how the T came out, and I feel like nothing new. He's a narcissistic, he's ego, he cannot read a room, he's jealous of others, anger issues, talks a lot about ending it all. He's a needy, talks poorly about others. Go to therapy. Actually, don't just go to a therapist, go to a psychologist.
About ending it all is a needy ass MF, talks poorly about others. I hope Emmy gets a restraining order from her crazy ex without him suing. But I feel like people are enjoying this nuke because it reinforces the perspectives people already have of him. It doesn't really have any new damning info that would end his career. Maybe I got caught up in build-up.
So here's the thing. If you're a content creator, because this is not the first time he's been accused of this. It's not the first time he's been accused of this. In fact, he's been accused of a cover-up, if I remember correctly, of working with other individuals and trying to actively cover up another SA situation that had happened. But if it's a consistent pattern of stuff like this, right? If you have anger issues, you're talking about ending it all, so on and so forth, and it's a consistent pattern. Even going to therapy in of itself is one step. Don't get me wrong. Please seek out help, but please seek out a psychologist. Please seek out someone that's going to go ahead and do more than just EMDR or CBT. Someone that's actually going to go through and find deep-rooted issues and be able to go ahead and talk about these things. Because having a mix of all this, and again, with the power and control wheel, if we take everything that's happening as true, guess what? That's not a good picture. And in fact, if this is repeated or naturalized behavior, I'm afraid.
Info that would end his career. Maybe I got caught up in build-up. Emiru also accused him of throwing objects, plastic bottles with liquid, his phone, at her when she told him she was scared. On one occasion, she said a bottle hit her in the eye, giving her a black eye, yet he treated it as an accident, as well as threatened Emiru that he's going to destroy her life if she ever talks about him in the following clip.
I heard from my friends, other streamers, and my employees that he had cooked up a plot that if I ever tried to talk about him, like about the abuse or anything else, he would try to go live and say that I killed my rabbits. And I was told that he approached several streamers who were around us a lot when we lived together and asked if they would basically back him up, and they refused. Obviously, they're not insane. Even something happened this weekend. At TwitchCon, one of my employees told me he went up to them and he threatened them, saying, if Emmy ever tries to talk about me, I will destroy her. Whatever.
Manipulators and abusers will always try to have some sort of control. Manipulators and abusers are always trying to find some way of control, right? And even if that means external factors like this, right? By putting some sort of threats and intimidation factors, that is not okay in any way, shape, or form. Right? This is, yeah, exactly. What the fuck? People that do this, and the thing is, he made a response video and he admits to it. Yeah. He admits to saying that, like, oh, I will go nuclear. I will destroy them. What are you doing? That is not okay in any way, shape, or form. What little bits of control he has, right? Because that's the main elements of for you. It's a fear of losing control, right? But the fact, and it might be an aspect of delusion, still thinking that, you know, even though they're not separated from you, you might be able to come back with them. That, you know, somebody like, you know, this might be, I don't know, your lifelong partner. You're just parting ways temporarily. But there are people out there, and especially individuals, again, that have a control issue that will still try and control the person, even though if they're no longer in a relationship.
Whatever that means. And within the same night, he also texted one of my best friends.
She just talked about how Mizkif would state Emiru killed her rabbits if she goes public. About 20 minutes ago, before she revealed that, I read a comment from someone saying she killed her rabbits. I can't find the comment anymore, so I assume it was deleted shortly after. Did anyone else see it?
What's funny is, or what's not funny, but what's sad is, she was right. He made a response video, and in the response video, he essentially states, oh yeah, she killed her rabbits. She didn't take care of them.
What's that about? Was this already a thing talked about? There are people who like to say she's the reason her rabbits died when she was living with Miz, because they had a rabbit hutch upstairs on the porch, and the heat is what killed them. It's not proven though, and rabbits are the type of animal that can just straight up die from a broken heart. So it's not like they are super hardy animals. Even the smallest change can get them. Emiru shows the 40+ messages Mizkif sent while trying to contact her.
Can we please talk while you're here? A simple conversation would go very far for both of us. They're no longer together, by the way. The lack of communication is very confusing, and I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. I'm sorry. Not a day has gone by in these last 4 months where your final words don't hurt me. Don't go, have echoed in my heart. I walked out of the door thinking I knew what I wanted, but I was wrong. I told myself I needed to be alone, that I had missed out on being single in my 30s. I convinced myself I needed space, freedom, distance, but the truth is I was afraid. Afraid of commitment, afraid of what it meant to truly let someone in, even when someone as beautiful and as kind as you. So I tried to protect myself in the worst ways possible. I pushed you away. I told myself lies to justify it. I said I was bored. I said a relationship would hold me back. I said I didn't want to be with just one person, but those weren't truths. They were shields I put up to avoid facing my fears and the parts of myself I hadn't healed. And in doing so, I lost you. The last 4 months have been the hardest of my life. Whatever people see on the outside. Is this Chat GPT for the M dashes? What is this? No one really uses M dashes unless they're like really good writers or Chat GPT. Is this Chat GPT? Chat, is this Chat GPT? And also misspellings in the past one, and there's no misspellings on this one. Anyway, the last 4 months have been the hardest of my life. Whatever people may see on the outside, online or anywhere else, know this. I've been lost without you. I've missed you every single day. I've cried more times than I can count just thinking about your smile, your laugh, the way you'd say merp or make those little sounds where you were happy. I even had to unfollow you at one point, not because I wanted to forget you, but because seeing you reminded me so painfully of how I messed up. I love you, Emmy. I always have, and I know now I never stopped. I know our time together was far from perfect. My mental health weighed heavily on us both, and I'm so sorry for what I put us through. You carried more than you should ever have, but I'm working on myself now, really working. I've started treatment. I'm on Lexapro, I always struggle. Propanol. And for the first time in a long time, I feel clarity. My emotions aren't running wild anymore. I think more clear and steady. I'm steadier. I'm like learning to be the man you always believed I could be. So then why did you use ChatGPT? For me, if you're thinking this way, okay, if you're working on yourself, why don't you continue working on yourself and wait for them to reach out to you and actually see the impact of the change that you're doing on yourself, rather than you saying, I've changed. This is why it's coming out, right? I've changed. Don't you know? I'm working on myself. I've changed. If you really change, it'll be noticeable without you even saying anything. Yeah, exactly. The story with the rabbit is sickening, and even if true, it would be animal mistreatment. That's terrible, but nothing near an essay situation. And it's a misdirection. For this kind of behavior, it's a misdirection. For me, it's like the main topic is this. Why are we like we could address the other topic as well, but that's a separate topic. This is the main topic that people are concerned about. Can we please talk while you're here? Simple the lack of communication is very.
And keep in mind, this is only things that he sent to me. I can't document all the things that people told me that he was saying.
Looks like Trainwreck wasn't bluffing entirely whenever he mentioned similar things that was happening in Miz's household. So Miz was definitely like the company he kept. Yeah, it's still slimy to hang on to some of that info just to use as a weapon only for when Mizkif started going against Gamba streams. Not directly related to this, but still part of the whole picture. But I understand it's not really Train's story to tell.
Here's the thing. And it's not to defend Trains or anyone like that, right? Put yourself in people's shoes, right? You come in as a guest to a house. You don't have any form of mental health training, and you see stuff happening. You're a content creator as well, and they're another sizable content creator. What happens? Would you be afraid of speaking out about what you're saying? Knowing that you don't know the ramifications of speaking out. Perspective is an amazing tool. It is. But would you be afraid of speaking out against another major content organization? Yeah. And you might even be like, okay, but if everyone else is accepting this as normal, like, is it like you'd be battling with those, right? You'd be battling with those thoughts and feelings, right? It'd be terrifying to go public, because then who would believe you if everyone is saying no, or if they got each other's back? Then it's going to be 10v1. And I think that's sort of what was happening as well when Train came up with certain things, or when he was mentioning the stuff that he was going through or seeing and whatnot. And at the time, if I remember correctly, there were people that were just saying, oh, it's just Train. Train's wild. Train's crazy. No, there was validity to it, you know? And guess what? even if he wrestled with these thoughts, like, should I go, should I say something, should I not, at the time that he did, whenever he did, and weaponizing it the way that people are saying, he might have just come to that conclusion a couple days or a couple weeks or maybe a month beforehand and be like, how do I even say this? It's not easy being a streamer and thinking about, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and speak out immediately and be righteous, because guess what, that can be the end of your career as a streamer if everyone decides to go out and rally against you, right? And especially if it's not like, if you're not necessarily the individual that's going through abuse, but you're just someone that came through and you saw something, there's a lot that comes into a person's mind. Should you say something? Absolutely, right? But can we immediately go in and try to blame someone for not speaking up about what they're saying earlier and weaponizing it, whatnot, because the timing might have been bad or anything like that? That's a little rough. That's a little rough.
Emiru then talks about how Mizkif once drove 150 miles per hour and threatened that they were both going to die because another streamer had a collab with Mr. Beast.
And at the time, he also would more often do things like going, like if we were driving in the car together, he would be going like 150 miles an hour. One time he even said like, well, now we're both gonna die, like threatening to.
If this is a consistent pattern, and say that it is like reckless driving, say that I'm hearing this, right? And say that I'm hearing this, I would more than likely title this individual. If I come through and I'm hearing someone that's going through 150 miles an hour, reckless driving, has consistently been saying that they want to kill themselves or that they want to end game themselves, saying like all of this stuff, that is grounds, right, for this individual to get the help that they need, and maybe possibly do that while being inpatient for a little bit. That is terrifying. That is terrifying. And unfortunately, it happens more often than you think.
Both of us, and this wasn't like even necessarily because of me or like because of something I did a lot of the time. Like one of the times that it happened, it was because we were just getting food and he was on his phone and he saw that Mr. Beast had put out a video, and Mr. Beast had invited another streamer, and he was like, oh, Mr. Beast invited this guy to his video, not me. And I was like, oh, well,
it'll be up on YouTube, like, Joe Mill.
Yeah, I guess so. Which led to him going 150 miles per hour in the car and talking about himself while doing it.
Forcing on.
That is not okay. I want to make sure that, okay, this is another thing. It goes, like, first and foremost, please seek out help if you're in any way, shape, or form you're related to any of the things that you saw out there. Please seek help. Remember, you should love in a way that is free and open, and relationships should be a wonderful thing where both of you add to each other's lives and not subtract away or go into situations. Consent should be 100% enthusiastic and voluntary, consent should be 100% enthusiastic and voluntary and all of that. The main reason why I'm highlighting all of this, and some people might be like, why'd you bring this up, is because this is often a conversation topic that gets pushed under the rug because people are uncomfortable talking about abuse or are uncomfortable talking about struggles that actually happen in relationships. So that's one of the big elements whenever it comes to something like this. If you saw anything in that, in that wheel, right, in the power and control wheel, please address it. Please address it. Yeah, they. Please be open to addressing it. Talk to someone that you know. And more specifically, find help. Find help. Find a good support structure. Find someone that you can talk to, and never be afraid of sharing that with others. Whew. I can't even imagine. My heart goes out to Emiru. It's absolutely horrible. This is horrendous. It's disgusting because if you've gone through SA, you know how big of a moment it is to share your story in front of everyone, and know that some people might not believe it, and that people might actually come through and start blaming you for sharing your story. Yeah. So everyone, please make sure to practice some self-care. Please make sure to go out and be there for your friends, be there for others, and of course, establish healthy boundaries and healthy relationships. Please practice some self-care. I appreciate y'all. Bye, VOD watchers.